Hey guys and girls, Emma Hyman, the Posing Pro here, and I am super excited. Obviously we know the Olympia was on over the weekend, and I am really just gonna critique the girls, critique the guys, go through the posing, what corrections could have been made, so you guys can really take that away and apply it to your own practice. I'm going to start with the bikini division, and all I'm going to do first of all is just go through the first line that came out onto the stage, and just really have a look at what maybe could have been improved and pull any little bits out that we might have really enjoyed and liked, just to give you guys as much critique and information as possible so you can apply that to your own posing. So in the first line out, we've got numbers 1 to 8. I'm going to critique from 1 to 8 and just say what maybe could have improved or that nothing needed improving. So let's start with lady number 1. So in this first front facing pose, we can see that she has the back foot, which is her left foot. She has the left foot on the floor. Now, if she lifted her heel off the floor, you would be able to sit backwards into the hip and the glute a little bit more, which may have just given her a little bit more curve and scoop into the glute. Now, we obviously know with this division that the glute shape, the development, is super important, because it's one of the main things that the judges will be critiquing you on. So her body weight is slightly forwards through the upper body. If she allowed all of her body weight to push backwards through the front leg, which is her right leg, then we would have just seen that whole frame stacked on top a little bit more, and we would have probably seen more curve and shape through the glute also. She could have maybe played around with the foot position. She probably already has done already, but just know that if you want to try and give more of a streamlined quad, you can turn your front toe out towards the judges slightly, and it may actually give you more curve on the glute as well. This is something you need to trial and error with your own posing practice. So I'm going to move on to lady number 2. So she's one of the more petite girls of the category. In height, she's a little bit smaller. So what I would say with this front facing pose is that she's standing quite upright. She's got nice shape through the glute, but again, I would probably sit into that front hip just a little bit more, and I feel like she could maybe just make that waist even smaller. So making sure that the midsection is engaged the entire time when you're on stage is super important. So make sure you're practicing your vacuums even during your improvement season to really develop the strength of the transverse abdominis, which is that muscle that pulls the belly button and the core, the wall into the spine, which really gives that nice tight waist. She is losing the delt just a little. Obviously, you know, we don't want heaps of delt being on display through that front facing pose. So it's not what they're looking for. But I feel with just a little bit more pull through the lat, pulling the arm forwards would have given more taper, which actually as a result would have made the waist a little bit smaller as well. Okay, I'm going to move on to lady number 3. I actually think this front pose looks really nice. Her flow and her frame really looks lovely. You can see she's got a nice structure. She's a taller girl as well. The waist, she's got a beautiful taper. You can see that she is really flaring that front lat to give that taper down into the waist. We know that we don't massively need to see a big cap through the back delt. We're not looking for an over dominant top line. The emphasis is more just on the front shoulder being nicely capped so it shows balance between the shoulder and the glute. Okay, lady number 4, which is in the center at the moment. She's quite delt dominant. Which means that she needs to make sure that there is even more emphasis through the curve of the glute. I think her foot position is a little bit too close together. If she took that left foot just away from the right one just a touch, it maybe would have allowed her to sit into the right hip more and push backwards through the glutes, which maybe would have given more curve through the glute as well, which then in turn would have then possibly given more balance through those nice dominant glute. Those nice dominant delts would have given more balance through the glutes. Okay, so lady number 5. Very nice physique. She's got the tiny waist is coming in perfectly. We've got a beautiful curve of the glute there. We can't see the front lat because the hair is covering it, but that might be the purpose of her front pose, and I don't think it's detrimental to her overall pose either. We can really see a nicely capped delt, and that she's got balance between the shoulder and the glute as well. Now remember, with your front facing pose, you can work on either side as long as the judges can see your number. So you must make sure you put your number on the side that the judges can see, but you can face either the left or the right in that front facing pose. Okay, lady number 6. So she doesn't have as much taper down through the waist. The glute isn't quite as developed, which means with the posing, she really needs to sit into the hip as much as possible, just to make sure that she was showcasing as much of the glute as possible. She could have maybe given a little bit more flair through the lat, just to give more emphasis on the V taper, which in turn would have made the waist even smaller. Okay, lady number 7. Okay, so again, she's a really tall girl. She's quite well developed through the full physique. I think that she is slightly over posing through the delts and the lats. Because she looks like one of the bigger girls on the stage. Now, it's really important that in the bikini division, you really know what the judges are looking for and what the criteria is. So it's really important that you know the criteria, that you're not underposing or overposing. You're really showcasing your physique the best that you can to make sure you get the placing that you deserve. So yeah, for me, she was posing a little bit too much on top, a little bit too much size and width through the lats and the shoulders. But with that being said, it does make her waist look a lot smaller because the lat is so flared. The foot position, the leg position, I think is nice. She's turning that front toe out a little bit more, and I would assume that's probably to take some emphasis off the quad and keep it through the glute and the hamstring. I again think her foot placement is a little bit too narrow, and because she is quite broad on top, it's making the athlete look even more wide on top. So final lady, which is lady number 8. She's got a nice physique, she's got good balance, she's well developed through those delts as well. She is a little bit shorter through the torso, so what I would have probably recommended is that she really lengthens through the spine to create more stretch through the waist, which then in turn would have also made the waist look a lot smaller. So let's continue with these ladies. And let's see their transitional pose. Okay, so know with your transitional pose that you can switch to either side that you need to showcase your best transition. As they move around to the rear, it's so super important that we keep the glutes lifted as we step to the back. Now, remember as well, when you are transitioning, it's a moment to reconnect with the judges, connect with the audience, show your stagecraft, your presentation. So make sure you're smiling to the judges as well. Now, when we step to the rear, it's so super important that we stretch through the hamstrings. Now, there is sometimes the chance of overarching through the lower back, which is very different to a stretch through the hamstrings. We never want to arch through the lower back so much that it flattens out the top of the glutes. So think about pushing your body weight backwards into your hamstrings, really grinding your heels down into the floor and making sure that the glutes stay nice and high and full at the same time of getting the taper down into the hamstring as well. We like to call that the V-tip. So looking through this line, most of the girls, they have a really nice rear position, but when you get to the back, you can really see the difference between the athletes that are very strong in this rear pose and the ones that maybe just need to go away and spend a little bit more time growing through the glutes and the hamstrings. So when we have lady number 5, you can really see she's got the nice high full round glutes with those beautiful V-tips on the bottom. And then the ladies either side of her, number 4 and number 6, you can just see that their glutes are smaller. There's less condition through the hamstring to the glute as well. So making sure that, you know, you've got to get the fullness and the roundness and the condition as well. Now, really love that the 2 ladies on the end are slightly angling themselves in towards the center judge, which is a really, really important point, because if you're on the outside of the lineup, you really want to make sure that you are showcasing to the center judge. Otherwise, only the judges on this side will see your rear pose or your front pose. So making sure that you're working the stage, knowing when you want to switch your angle ever so slightly, just to give the full panel a correct view of your physique. So fantastic rear poses there. The standard, I have to say, was so high, which is exactly what we want to see. So as you transition around to the front, really make sure that you come round with some intention, that you smile at the judges straight away. I mean, For me, there's nothing worse than watching an athlete that really isn't smiling and enjoying their time up there and really being that showgirl. Like, we need to see this so much on stage. It's so important. And just making sure that when you do get back into your front facing pose, that you really know how it should feel, and that you can just lock it in every single time. And that really just comes with plenty of practice. So making sure you're drilling your half turns, your front pose, your transition, your rear pose, drilling it without the mirror, so you really know how it should feel as well as how it should look. Okay, so the ladies have come back around into that front pose. Yeah, I'm looking at number one, and if you look at her position, her body angle is really coming even more further forwards now. She's coming back into that front facing pose. She has lifted the left heel up, which is fantastic, but her body weight is very much so over on that left toe. So it's not on her standing leg, it's on the foot that is off the floor and the knee is bent. I feel like now, again, looking at number two, she really just needs to create more width on her frame, because she looks very two-dimensional, which means that she kind of looks quite narrow. We still want to open up the frame while staying within that bikini criteria. So fantastic first line out from those ladies there. I really hope that this breakdown helped you a lot. I'm going to be critiquing all of the categories, male and female, over the next week, even though it is Christmas week, to give you plenty of feedback so you can go away and apply it to your own posing. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you head over to the Instagram page. We've got the Academy page on there. You also just make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on any more critiques from me. I am Emma Hyman, the Posing Pro, and thank you so much for joining.